What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Another solid clap. All right, today I have 3 budget-friendly Glock clones that we're going to talk about. We're going to take a look at. I had all 3 of these sitting here. I figured turn on the camera with no notes, which is never a good thing. Do a quick comparison, and hopefully I can educate you and help you make an educated decision if you're looking for a budget-friendly Glock clone. We have the Anderson Kiger. This is the 9C Pro Edition. We'll go over that in just a second. We also have the BCA Grizzly. This is the Glock 19 compact size version. And then we have the PSA Dagger. I have both the compact and somewhere over there I have the micro one as well. Now, I don't have a Ruger RXM before somebody asks. I'm sure they're going to. I don't own one. Ruger doesn't return my email, so oh well. All right, the Anderson. Let's talk about options and prices first. A little north of $400 on their website. If you look at a dealer, you can definitely get it sub $400. It's a Glock 19 compact. I don't believe they have a Glock 17 one. Maybe I should have checked that before the video. And that's the only one they offer right now. The BCA Grizzly, they have a full size, which is going to be like a Glock 17, and they have the Glock 19 size compact as well. This one on the BCA website is already below $300, so very, very good value. And is this one made in the States too? I believe, yeah, made in the States also. And then the PSA Dagger. PSA has been killing it with good quality, budget-friendly pistols, rifles, AKs, ARs, all sorts of stuff. So the PSA Dagger is a Glock 19. They have a huge selection of colors and slide configurations, sight configurations, optic configurations. Again, they have the micro compact, which is kind of like the Glock 43 type size. And they have the biggest selection out of all of them. Typically, you see them a little north of $300 on the PSA website, but a lot of them go on sale and you can easily get it well below the $300 price if you wait for a sale for the specific one you're looking at. All right, we're gonna keep this in alphabetical order. So the Anderson, I think, has the nicest looking grip. Aesthetically, the grip looks really good. I think it's made by SCT. The texture on the side and on the finger grooves and all that stuff, the texture is great. It feels good, it looks good, I love it. The front and the back of the grip does not have that same texture, and that's a bummer. I wish it had that same texture all around. The BCA Grizzly has the weirdest looking and feeling texture out of all of them. It kind of looks like tree bark to me. When you rub your hands up and down, it's kind of like a squiggly. So it looks weird and it feels weird, but it does lock your grip in, so that's good. It also does have some memory notches with that same texture on both sides of the gun as well. Now the Dagger does not have those memory notches. Well, it does. It has 2 cutouts on both sides, but they're not textured, so I don't know if you care. I think the Dagger feels the best in my hand. So hand feel out of the 3, the PSA Dagger feels the best. That palm swell, I don't know if it's not as drastic as a Glock or whatever, but I don't know. It feels the best in my hand out of all 3. The texture is not as aggressive as the Anderson, but it's the same texture on all 4 sides of the grip. So a couple different pros and cons on the grip there. The Dagger also has 2 cutouts on the side, so if you care about ripping those magazines on a malfunction, if that's something important to you, the Dagger has that. Now the magazine release on the Anderson and on the Dagger is just about the same. It's that very small kind of Glock Gen 3 mag release. And I do need to readjust my grip a little bit to drop that magazine, and they both do drop freely. Now one advantage of the Grizzly has a much wider magazine release. It looks more like a Gen 4, Gen 5, and it's significantly easier to reach. When I'm doing magazine exchanges with the Dagger, I actually don't need to readjust my grip, and it saves me, I don't know, a quarter, half of a second, whatever it is. We're going to talk about the triggers real quick. Now, none of these have amazing triggers. They're budget-friendly Glock clones, so keep your expectations low. The Anderson and the BCA trigger appears to be exactly the same, and you have the little safety dongle in the middle there, a little bit of take-up, you have a decent wall like you would a Glock. It has an okay reset. They may be the Glock performance trigger, I don't know off the top of my head, but I think the BCA and the Anderson trigger feels pretty much the same. Now the Dagger trigger is probably a small step down from those 2. It is a hinged trigger, and it reminds me of the Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0. It has a little bit of take-up, a long-ish wall, an average reset. It's okay. I don't think it's bad enough that would stop me from buying or carrying it, but I think out of the 3, that trigger is probably the just slightly worse out of all 3. As always, we're going to take normally a 10-second break. Give me 20 seconds this time, because we're going to get up close and personal with all 3 triggers so you can see them and you can decide what you think. What do you think of the triggers? Basic Glock triggers, they're fine. As long as you don't slap the trigger, you're gonna get hits, no problem. All right, trigger guards are gonna be very different shape and design, but roughly the same size. So I don't see a big pro or con. I do wanna point out that the Anderson has some texture on the front and the bottom if you care. They all have a little bit of an undercut underneath. Maybe the Dagger undercut isn't quite as high, maybe just a little bit, but they're very, very similar. The rail to put a light laser or doohickey on here, the PSA has the single cutout, very much like a Glock. The Grizzly has 3 cutouts, the Anderson has 4. Now, do I think it's really gonna make a big difference on what lights work on these guns? Probably not. Maybe we'll let you snug up a light a little closer to the trigger guard with the more grooves. With that said, I've put full-size lights like X300s, TLR1s on all of these. I put smaller lights like TLR7s on here, and I didn't have a problem with any of them. They were all fine. The slide stop, slide release are different. This is one of the bigger differences between them that I want to talk about. The Anderson Kiger has that extended Glock slide stop, slide release, and I really like that. I choose to use it as a slide release, and out of all 3, the Anderson is definitely the easiest to drop as a slide release. The Grizzly has some known issues with the slide release. There's some, not all, there's some of them out there where you really, can't easily drop that slide. When I first got this, I couldn't do it at all. As I've been shooting it, it's been wearing in and whatnot. And the problem is not the actual release, the problem is on the slide. So Chris from 740 Tactical made a video detailing this on his channel on what it is and how to fix it. And it is easy to fix. It's nothing overly difficult, but the dimensions and the way the cutout is on the slide causes that problem. So if that is a big deal, maybe test it before you take it home, whatever. The Dagger is fine, standard slide release, kind of similar to a lot of Glocks. I can easily drop it and use it as a slide release if I want to, not quite as easy as the Anderson. And then obviously being these are Gen 3 clones, none of them have ambi slide stop, slide release, just on the left side of the gun. All right, move on up to the slide. The Anderson, this is the pro version, so it does have these fancy slide cuts. The base version will not have these slide cuts. It has good serrations on the rear. The slide cuts in the front work as serrations as well. This one has suppressor height sights. The base model does not, but either way, they're not plastic, they're metal sights, so that's good. These happen to be all blacked out sights, but they're fine. The Grizzly also has a few slide cuts, not as many, has one on each side, one on the top. The serrations on the Grizzly are probably the least effective out of the 3. They're not as deep, they're a little bit slick, they're functional, but not fantastic. The sights on here are not plastic as well, which is good. They're metal, I like that. And they're just very, very basic set of rudimentary 3-dot green sights. They're fine. You should probably throw a dot on any gun you have anyway, so who cares, but very basic set of sights. The Dagger is available in a huge variety of sights. You can get it, the sight in front of the optic, behind the optic, blacked out, night sights, 3 dots, there's tons of different options. I have a set of night vision sights on here that are night sights with a tritium in the front and a yellow greenish circle or shape around it, and they're fantastic, but that's not what came on there. As far as the slide and the serrations, the slide and the serrations on the Dagger are good. I don't think they're quite as good as the Anderson, but they're very, very close. They're fine, they're serviceable, they're okay, no big issues there. Let's move on to the optics cut. So both the Dagger and the BCA are cut for the RMR footprint, and that's how they are. That's how they come. That's all you get. And I'm A-okay with that. Being it's a budget-friendly gun, it's RMR footprint. It screws right down to the slide. There's no accessory plates or anything like that. Cool. I am A-okay with that. I didn't have any problems with it. The Dagger, this particular one is the same setup where no accessory plates, screws right down to the slide, RMR footprint. But they do have others, and they've discontinued a lot of them. And I haven't checked recently, but they've always had other slides that are other footprints. They used to have Delta Point Pro and Doctor, and I don't remember what else, but they've had a lot of different optics cut slides for their guns. So if you have a favorite footprint, maybe take a look and see if it's still available on the Dagger. Maybe that's the decision, this final decision. So taking these apart, YouTube, we're just taking this apart for looking and basic cleaning and maintenance. This is approved and allowed on the YouTube policy. So we're gonna make sure the gun's unloaded before we do anything stupid. Pull the slide to the rear, pull down on both takedown levers, pull the trigger, and the slide comes right off. So there's the Dagger, pretty straightforward. The one thing I will say about the Grizzly is I don't know if it's the extended controls or if it is just the slide. Excuse me, the frame is cut out more, but it's the easiest out of the three to pull down on those takedown levers. The Kiger out of the three is the hardest to pull down on those levers, not huge. One thing I noticed that's different in the frame, and I don't know if this makes a huge difference at all, but if you look at the PSA Dagger locking block, it is all one piece, and I don't know if that helps with the stiffness, because when we get to the testing portion, I do think the Dagger shoots a little bit better than the other two. If you look at the Grizzly, it's kind of like a two-piece separate design in there, and I think the front is built into the frame, and the Anderson Kiger, those two front portions of the rails are molded right into the frame as well, so those are not coming out. The rest of the frame though looks pretty much the same. The Anderson has a plastic guide rod with the captured recoil spring, and it has the aesthetics on the barrel are upgraded a little bit. That has some nice fancy slide cuts, not slide cuts, just decorative cuts in the barrel, and that's only on the Pro version again, not on the standard version. The BCA Dagger also has a plastic guide rod, captured recoil spring. They're available with and without threaded barrels. You can get whatever you want. I went with the threaded barrel because Rhode Island, the state I currently live in, not for long, has a law that they're gonna make any gun with a threaded barrel an assault weapon. So even a handgun like this could be an assault weapon next month. So I went with the threaded barrel, just piss them off. Anyway, the Dagger, this particular one does have a stainless steel guide rod and captured recoil spring. So I think this is another reason why the Dagger may shoot just a tiny bit nicer. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the barrel selection, they have a bunch of different color barrels with threads, without threads. I think you get the point, but the Dagger definitely has the widest selection out of all of them. Okay, testing. I've had the Dagger the longest by far. I just got the Grizzly, the BCA Grizzly, and I have the least amount of rounds on that, and the Anderson's right in the middle. And they've all been extremely good. When I first magazine or two through the Grizzly, it did have a few malfunctions and the slide release problem that I mentioned earlier. Besides that, they have all been fantastic. For a $300 or $400 gun, the reliability has been great. If I was on a budget and couldn't or didn't want to spend more, I would be a-okay using any of these for self-defense. The Dagger's probably, well, definitely well over 1,000 rounds, probably a couple thousand rounds with all the accessories I've put on here and how much I've used this to test other pistol handgun accessories, tons of rounds. The Anderson, probably 500-600-ish, whatever I put through the review. Since the review, I haven't really shot that much. And the BCA Grizzly review will be out in a few weeks. I'm probably 300 or 400 rounds. And then I also took, before this video here, I took all three to the range and I shot all three of them back to back to back, over and over and over, and I ran the same drill with them several times. I really wanted to see, do they shoot different? I didn't expect much of a difference, but I wanted to play around and see. And I will say, I know the Dagger has a comp, and I'm sure people are gonna, or have already started leaving comments that the Dagger has a comp. No shit, it shoots better. But even without the comp, I think the Dagger shoots a little bit better than the other two. Second, I'm going to put the Anderson, and the Grizzly would be a close third. Now, do I think it's significant enough where if you're considering one to change your mind? No. I mean, I'm talking very small amounts. The Dagger shoots, in my hands, a little bit better than the Anderson, than the BCA, but that's just me in my hands. You pick these up, and it may be totally different for you. All right, I'm done rambling. I'm done talking. I want to thank all three companies because all three companies have supported this channel, and I greatly appreciate that. Thank you for watching. If you think I deserve it, please like and comment. More important, why don't you subscribe to the channel? That's what I really need. That's what really helps. I appreciate it. Santa appreciates it. Be good and stay blessed.